Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into a fascinating business idea,
Yes.
one that could, well, maybe change how creative professionals learn and grow.
Yeah, we've got this detailed interview with Rachel. She's the founder of SkillSpark. And SkillSpark is this AI-powered, project-based learning and mentorship platform. That's our main source. So our mission here for this deep dive is basically to pull out the core ideas from SkillSpark's concept, look at its market potential, and really get, what makes its approach to helping creative freelancers level up so different.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, I think, isn't just that it's a new platform. It's how SkillSpark seems to uh, zero in on some very specific, kind of overlooked problems for this huge growing group, the digital creative freelancer. It's not just like throwing more courses out there. It's about closing that gap, between knowing stuff and actually being able to do it professionally, mixing AI with, well, real human guidance. That could be really powerful.
Okay, so let's unpack SkillSpark then. What is it exactly, and who's it really for? Okay, so at its core, SkillSpark is basically this AI-powered platform, but it's very project-based for learning and mentorship. And it's built, specifically for creative freelancers. Think graphic designers, video editors, animators, voiceover artists to, anyone in that digital creative world who wants to get better.
And where did the idea come from? You said it sounded personal.
Oh, absolutely. It seems Rachel's own experience as a freelance graphic designer really showed her this big gap. She found she could learn the theory, from free stuff online, but she didn't get that personalized feedback. And maybe more importantly, she didn't have the confidence. Like, how do you know if your work is actually good enough for a client? And apparently, yeah, millions of others have the same issue. They learn skills, but then struggle to actually use them professionally.
Huh. So it's less about learning the what and more about building the confidence in the how, like the practical side. So SkillSpark isn't trying to be just another Coursera or Skillshare. It's more like a, what do they call it? A creative incubator.
Exactly. The phrase they use is transformation, not just information, which I think sums it up pretty well.
Okay, let's zoom in a bit.
Yep.
Who is the absolute, perfect user for SkillSpark? What's their deal?
Right. The target user. They're typically freelancers, maybe aspiring creatives, often younger, say 20 to 35. They've got the basics down. They know how to use the software maybe, but they get stuck when it comes to applying those skills to, real projects. Messy ones. They often feel kind of isolated, maybe unsure if their portfolio is strong enough. And yeah, they're often charging lower rates because they just lack that confidence in delivering top tier work. They're looking for that boost.
Okay, so given that profile, what are the specific pain points SkillSpark is trying to solve?
Well, looking at Rachel's interview, three main things keep coming up. First, just a lack of real-world project experience, Learning theory is one thing, doing it under pressure is another. Second, there's this big need for structured, personalized feedback, like actual feedback, not just likes or comments. Is this work client ready? Why or why not? They often just don't know. And third, a lack of career guidance or even just a community. Lots of freelancers are kind of out there on their own, no mentors, no network to help them grow.
So SkillSpark is aiming to hit all three then.
Yeah.
Projects, feedback, and community.
Yeah, exactly. The idea is to provide that whole package: practical work, mentorship, and a supportive place to learn. Seems like a solid combo for breaking through those common blocks.
Okay, this is where I think it gets really interesting. What makes SkillSpark actually different? From the big names like Skillshare or maybe Masterclass, what's their unique angle?
Yeah, this is key. The main difference is that it's totally project-based. It's not course-based. So users aren't just passively watching videos. They're actively doing stuff, completing these real client-style briefs every week, like design a logo for this made-up company or edit a 30-second promo video for a fake product. It's hands-on.
And the feedback part sounds pretty novel too, right? How's it work?
It really does. It's this hybrid model they've got. Part of it is AI-assisted feedback. So the AI looks at the work based on, objective things: visual hierarchy, balance, typography, maybe tone or timing for video. But, and this is the crucial bit, users also get access to real human mentors, actual professionals. And these mentors give extra reviews, suggestions. It's meant to feel like getting feedback from a real client or an art director that human insight AI just can't replicate yet.
Right. So the unique value isn't just the AI or just the humans. It's the combo. It's like hands-on creative development with AI plus human mentorship plus real projects.
Exactly. And they promise measurable progress, too. It's a whole different way of thinking about building creative skills.
Okay, let's switch over to the business stuff. How are they planning to make money? What's the model?
It looks pretty straightforward. They're going with a tiered subscription model. So there's a basic tier, maybe around $15 a month. That gets you the project prompts, the AI feedback, and forum access. Then a pro tier, closer to $30 a month. That adds live reviews from the mentors, monthly group critiques, maybe some exclusive challenges. And then there's an elite tier, around $60 a month. That's got one-on-one coaching, really personalized portfolio help, and even like priority placement and a talent showcase for agencies.
Hmm. Okay. Are they thinking about other ways to make money besides just users paying subscriptions?
Yeah, the source mentions a couple of other avenues. They're looking into enterprise licensing. So, selling SkillSpark access to creative agencies or maybe design schools as like a training tool. And down the line, they're thinking about partnering with job boards, creative recruiters. The idea is to help place freelancers who've gone through SkillSpark, maybe taking a cut, like a talent pipeline.
Makes sense. But what's the actual market potential here? Is this a niche thing or is there a big audience for it?
Oh, it seems pretty big, actually. The whole freelance economy is massive. Just in the US, you've got, what, over 57 million freelancers? And creative pros are a really significant chunk of that. Think graphic design, video editing, voiceover. Those are consistently top freelance skills people need. So the estimate they threw out was an addressable market of about $2.3 billion a year. And that's just in English-speaking countries. So yeah, seems like a pretty substantial need they're tapping into.
And how do they see themselves compared to, say, Skillshare or maybe Domestika? Are they trying to steal users or is it different?
They seem to see those more as indirect competitors, which I think is smart positioning. Those platforms are mostly about, well, passive learning. You watch a course. Skillsbox's whole thing is being interactive, project-focused, feedback-driven. It's maybe closer in feel to something like Dribble or Behance, where people show off work. But Skillspark adds that whole teaching and building layer on top. It's not just showcasing, it's about actively getting better with structure.
Okay, so scaling this up, how do they plan to handle growth? What's the tech actually doing and how does it scale?
Well, that AI feedback system is pretty central to the scaling plan. It's trained on like, a huge data set of industry best practices, and it's designed to keep learning. The platform itself uses pretty standard, robust tech, Python, React. They're using OpenAI models, too, for some content stuff, because so much is digital and automated. Yeah, it can handle thousands, maybe more users pretty efficiently. And the mentors, that's clever, they're mostly gig-style freelancers themselves. So a SkillSpark can basically flex that mentor pool up or down depending on how many users they have without huge fixed costs.
That gig model for mentors definitely sounds flexible for scaling. But I wonder, does that create challenges for, like, quality control
Mm.
or building real mentor relationships? And how do they actually plan to get those first users in the door? What's the initial push?
Yeah, that's a fair point on quality control. They mentioned using vetting processes and user ratings for mentors to try and manage that. As for getting users, the go-to-market seems very community-focused. They're planning partnerships with influencers like mid-tier creators on YouTube and Instagram who already talk to creatives. They've also got this Creative Sparks newsletter planned, offering tips and freebies to build an email list. And really importantly, running beta challenges. Get early adopters using it, completing projects, winning stuff, and then getting testimonials out of that.
Right, testimonials are huge. But look, no new thing is easy. What are the biggest hurdles, the main risks SkillSpark is facing?
The source highlights three main ones, and they seem pretty realistic. First is retention, keeping users engaged. Will people stick around if the projects get boring or if the feedback doesn't feel helpful? That's a big one for any subscription service. Second is that quality control piece we just touched on. Especially with human mentors, how do you make sure the feedback is consistently good, constructive, across maybe hundreds of freelance mentors? And third, the technical complexity, especially with the AI. Training an AI to give useful feedback on something as subjective as creative work, that's not easy. Good design can be hard to define for a machine.
Okay, so those are pretty significant challenges. How are they planning to actually deal with them?
Well, for retention, they're apparently building in some gamification, points, badges, leaderboards, that kind of thing, to keep it engaging. For quality control, it's about having strict vetting for mentors, plus those user ratings and feedback loops, so bad mentors get filtered out, hopefully. And for the AI challenge, they're starting kind of narrow, focusing the AI on specific, measurable aspects first. And the plan is to expand its abilities slowly as they get more data, more examples of good work, and good feedback for it to learn from. Start small, then grow.
Okay, let's zoom out again. 5 years from now, what's the really big dream for SkillSpark? The ultimate goal?
The vision they articulate is pretty bold. They want to be the Duolingo for creative professionals.
Yeah.
Essentially, the go-to global platform for creative upskilling, a place where millions of people go not just to learn, but to actually grow their careers, connect with others, and yeah, find work too.
The Duolingo for creatives. That's quite an ambition. And what about, the end game? Is there an exit strategy mentioned?
Yeah, two main possibilities came up. One is a strategic acquisition, being bought by a bigger company like Adobe, maybe Fiverr, or LinkedIn even,
Yeah.
someone in that creative or professional development space. The other path is just building it into a profitable, sustainable business on its own long term. The founder, Rachel, seems to really emphasize building something meaningful, though, suggesting it's not just about selling it off quickly.
Well, this whole deep dive into SkillSpark, it really does shine a light on how creative education and work itself are changing pretty rapidly, actually.
Absolutely. And, if SkillSpark does get anywhere near that goal, becoming this kind of global standard for creative upskilling, it poses a really interesting question for you, the listener. How might this kind of practical project-based learning mixed with AI and mentorship, how might that change the value of, say, a traditional four-year creative degree or existing certifications? Could this whole approach start to reshape what we even mean by professional accreditation in creative fields down the line?
Yeah, definitely something to think about as you navigate your own learning path and, well, the future of work. Thanks for diving deep with us today.